Hey guys, welcome back to DeFi Kingdoms. In this video, I'm going to explain the big picture framework that I use to value heroes. And if you stick around to the end, I'll explain which types of heroes I'm investing in right now and why I'm doing so. So before we begin, as usual, I want to make a disclaimer that all of this is just my opinion and none of this should be taken as financial advice. And next, this is all based on the information available to us today, which is subject to change. And if the information changes, then obviously my opinion will change as well. So don't take anything I say in this video as gospel and instead use this to make your own informed decision. Okay, so let's get started. So starting with the big picture, heroes are first priced largely within a certain jewel price range, which I call the global price range. And within the global price range, heroes are then valued according to their relative value to other heroes. So this might sound a little bit conceptual right now, so let me just give you a quick illustration of what this means. Here is a value scale starting from very few jewels on the left towards a lot of jewels on the right. And here is a representation of the global price range starting from common heroes with poor stats on the left and mythic heroes with perfect stats on the right. So at this point, don't get too wrapped up on the details, you just need to get the gist of how the big picture works. So this diagram is meant to illustrate that the heroes are all valued relative to each other, with the common heroes on the cheaper side and the rare, legendary and mythic heroes on the more expensive side. And so these colored rectangles represent the global price range that I was talking about. Generally speaking, the jewel price of these heroes move relative to each other. So let's say a big negative event happens and the price of heroes fall, and when that happens, the jewel price of all of these heroes fall together at the same time. Like this. So although the global price range fell as a whole, the relative prices of heroes remain relatively similar. And on the other side of the coin, if there is a very big bullish event that occurs, then the whole global price range will increase together. When this happens, the common heroes, for example, are priced higher than they used to be previously here, okay, but they are still cheaper than the uncommon, rare, legendary, and mythic heroes. So this is the general framework of how the global price range works. The price of these heroes move relative to each other, and they also move together as a whole in terms of the global price range. So right now, your hero might be cheaper or more expensive in terms of jewel than, let's say, a few months ago, and that will be largely dependent on how the global price range moves based on what's happening in the macro environment right now. So the logical question to ask next is, what determines the global price range? And the answer is that it largely depends on the big picture sentiment. It depends on the crypto and stock market outlook. It depends on how people feel about GameFi and the metaverse. And of course, it also depends on people's outlook on the game and its potential. So now that we have covered the big picture global price range, we can now zoom in and take a look at how individual heroes are valued relative to each other. And very generally, this is done by a framework that I call the category price range. And this category price range is largely determined by the earning power of the hero in that category. So there are three general categories here. The first is the profession category. So this refers to the earning power of the hero of a particular profession. And next we have the combat category, which refers to the earning power of heroes that participate in combat quests and PvP. And lastly, we have the summon category, which refers to the earning power of the hero when it comes to summoning other heroes. So these are the three main categories with which heroes are valued according to. Okay, so before I continue, I want to repeat what I've just said. There are three value components to every hero, and these are the profession, combat, and summon categories, and each of these categories have their own value. So whenever you look at a hero, you will consider their profession value, which is how much they are expected to earn from profession quests, and also by combat value, which is how much they are expected to earn from PvE quests and PvP. And lastly, we also have to consider their summon value, which is their ability to summon a good hero. So once again, remember that every hero is valued according to these three components. Now let's take a look at the hero marketplace to put this theory into practice. So we are here at the hero marketplace, and I am specifically looking at Generation 1 knights. So let's first consider their profession value. So knights are known to be good at mining and poor at pretty much everything else. So these knights here are priced in increasing order. Okay, so it gets more and more expensive as it goes down the list. And I think to make this simple, let's just restrict this to common knights. All right, so this comparison is a little bit more fair. Okay, so starting from the top, let's turn these cards around. We can see that all of these cheaper knights here are fishing, fishing, foraging, fishing. Okay, foraging, foraging, foraging. Okay, gardening here. As you can see, these cheaper knights here tend to not be mining, because for a knight, the profession value is high in terms of mining. That is why the knights with the mining profession boost tend to be more expensive than all other professions. Okay, so this is the first component of valuing a hero. Next, let's consider the combat value of these heroes. So as you may know, knights are the tanks of the game. So the relevant stats for knights are strength, vitality, and endurance. And as you can see here, most of these cheaper heroes tend to not have the stat boost gene in strength, vitality, and endurance. And if we scroll down where the knights are priced higher, we will probably find more examples of those three stats being boosted. All right, so let me filter that down. Let's take a look at first, let's pay attention to the floor prices here. So this is between 130 jewel to 180 jewel, and none of these have the important stat boosts, right? So let's now filter for those boosts that we are looking at: strength, endurance, and vitality. And as you can see, the price range is a lot higher, right? So we are going from 250 jewel to 450 jewel. And this is partially because these are the important stat boosts that we see here that are relevant to the knight. So this is the combat value component that gives value to a knight. And now lastly, let's consider the summon value component. And this is pretty straightforward. If we reset everything and we sort by price, you can see the cheaper knights here tend to be the ones with lower number of summons, right? This is 1304. And if we scroll down to where the knights are priced higher, let's go to the next page. You can see on a whole, we have higher number of summons, 542. And if we scroll further down to even more pages further down the line, okay, you can see the number of summons tend to go up. Okay, so there are just a lot of knights here, so this is not very productive. Let me actually just sort by summons. This will probably help more if we look at 10 summons. Actually, let me just filter by generation. This will make it easier. So if we look at 10 summons here, you can see it tends to be much higher than if the summons were significantly less. So this is the basic framework with which I use to value heroes. First, I look at the profession value. If that hero has the profession boost gene that's relevant to the hero's class, then that hero tends to be valued higher. And if that hero has stat boosts that's relevant to that hero's class, then that hero tends to be valued higher as well. And lastly, if that hero has a high number of summons, then that hero tends to be valued high as well. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to quickly explain what I'm doing right now based on my view of how heroes are being priced. Currently, I think heroes are being valued based on the three categories as such. A lot of people are placing value on the profession component because right now all we have are the two professions, fishing and foraging, We don't yet have gardening or mining. Those will be coming up soon. And next, we don't have any combat quests or PvP right now. So the combat stats of heroes are being undervalued in my opinion. So right now, people are only placing an approximate 15% weightage of the value of the combat stats that go into the price of the hero. And lastly, the summon value is pretty much constant because we can summon right now. And the summon value of a hero is something that most people in the game are aware of right now. In my view, when DeFi Kingdoms starts to get built out in the coming months, and when combat quests and PvP goes live, I think the heroes of the game will largely be valued in terms of profession or largely be valued in terms of combat. So there will be two different categories, and the first is the profession hero. I think in the future, the weightage will change accordingly. I think the profession value in the future will be around 60%. These are the heroes that people will be using largely to run profession quests, and they will almost not be using them for combat quests or PvP, so the combat value of these heroes will be close to zero. And the summon value will remain more or less the same because the characteristics of how summoning is done will not change. Next, we have the combat focused heroes, and here the weightage changes as well. Most people will be using their combat heroes for combat quests, and they will not be using these heroes for professions. So the profession value of these heroes will probably be close to zero. And instead, these heroes will largely be valued based on their combat value in the adventure quests and in PvP. And the summoning value of these heroes will be less because I think that the rewards of combat in this game will be significantly larger than the rewards from professions. So with these estimates in mind, I think the biggest discrepancy here is that in the current hero value estimate, the combat value is around 15%. So I think this is currently undervalued, and that in the future, this combat value will increase significantly from the combat value we are seeing right now. So from a rough ballpark perspective, I think the best play from an investment perspective is to invest in heroes with a high combat value that is not yet being priced in. Okay, so to give you an example of what I mean, let's once again take a look at knights. Let's focus on Generation 1 knights, and let's take a look at those with the mining boost. You can see the floor price of a 10 summon knight with the mining boost is 345 jewel. And these knights are largely priced because of the mining boost. And instead of investing in these heroes, my preference, for example, would be to invest in heroes with just the strength or vitality or endurance stat boost. Okay, so you can see they are significantly cheaper, and these do not have the mining boost. Okay, so right now, these combat stats here are not being valued, in my opinion, well enough. And so in my opinion, these are the types of heroes that are currently undervalued. Okay, so to wrap things up, here's the bottom line. I will mostly be looking for and investing in combat-focused heroes, especially those with off-profession boost genes, because these are the ones that are likely to be the ones that are currently undervalued. So that's the end of the video. If you found it to be useful, please click the like button, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.